You don't see many people hunting late season. Most guys prefer rut or early season. But late season when it gets cold out like now, right now we're at like, I think we're at about -4 right now. Deer are moving. I was just driving around and I was seeing deer in the fields. When it's cold, they can't lay down and sit still, they'll freeze. They move a lot and they move early. You know, I see more big bucks, mature bucks in late season hunting than I do during the rut. To me, this is a much better hunt than rut. I can get on mature bucks easier. You know, maybe that's a variable of the public land and pressured areas I'm hunting to some degree. But you can't deny that big bucks don't move much in daylight outside of late season, even during the rut. Usually what you see moving during the rut is the more 3-year-olds, 2-year-olds, but those mature bucks, getting them up and moving usually takes some cold weather and some late season stuff. At this time of the year, those big bucks are grouped up, and one of the hardest things that a guy has going for him is most guys are stuck on the same properties. They hunt the same areas, the same spots over and over again, and you got to hunt a little different during late season, during this winter season. Bucks are grouped up, so you got to find the groups. They're where the food is, and that can change from year to year. So you have to do a lot of scouting. You have to go find them, and it ain't easy because of the short days. But if you're willing to put in that work and you're willing to go find these deer, you can really get onto big bucks and groups of big bucks that move in daylight pretty easy, even on public land in late season. They don't move great distances. They move from bed to food and back again. They conserve their energy, and they're feeding machines. There's not a lot of food, so they got to spend a lot of time eating because that's what makes their heat. That's what generates their energy. So they're trying to reserve energy, so they're just making those short movements. So you got to find that, but you got snow on the ground in a lot of cases, and that snow is going to tip you off to where they're at. You're going to be able to find the tracks and such. Joe Rentmeester called me up, and he said that his area is closed, mine's still open, and he wanted to know if I had any leads on some areas he could hunt to get on some of them big bucks in late season. And I called him back and I said, hey, I know a spot where there's at least one Boone and Crockett and a couple of smaller bucks, but it's hell to get to. 3+ miles the way he's got to go in to get there. And it was probably going to have a high that day of something like 4 degrees, and most of the time it was going to be below 0. And he had to go through deep snow to get back there. I thought for sure he'd say no, but Joe is one tough hombre. He said, let's do it. So I gave him a map on how to get back there, and then the rest is up to him on how to set up. Let's take a look at and see how his late season public land hunt went.
Alright, so it's the second last week of January, and I had a few days off of work here, so I made a run up or down by Dan, and he told me, he put me onto an island that's way out here, and I would say 2.5 to 3 miles from mainland. It's kind of crazy, and the snow is like 8 inches deep, so I'm all sweated up. But the island that I'm going to go to is behind me. I'll zoom into it here in a minute. But the sign all the way out here, I mean, there's the mainland where I came from, but the sign all the way out here didn't look very good, and now I'm getting right up to this island, and it's actually looking pretty hot. I'll kind of show you what I'm looking at here. The sign is super fresh. There's a few decent tracks in here. It's really hard to make out the tracks because of the snow. Look at all the hair in there. But it's hard to make out the tracks because the snow's so deep. There's some good ones there. But there's something in here with antlers for sure, because, let me go to it. Some poop from a smaller animal. Some rubs in here from earlier in the season. But now this stuff, some of this stuff looks like it was broken off last night here. That's in the snow. Some of this stuff looks pretty recent. Hard to say that there's one for sure with antlers on yet. But Dan's telling me there's a big one back here. And the sign is looking good the closer we get. So I don't know what I'll be doing for interviews when I get out there to that island, because I don't want to go blowing stuff off the island. Look at all the tracks. There's a group of deer coming off there. And hopefully, look at that one. It's not terrible. Look at, they're pawing at everything, just staging out here. But hopefully, of that group of deer, there's a big rack on there. They're chewing on whatever they can. Look at this. I would expect some early movement. We'll see, but there's the island I need to get to. It's taken me about an hour and a half at this point to get to where I am. So now it's just a matter of getting set up on there correctly. So I gotta go save the camera battery. So I just got back to Dan's now, and we're just kind of going over what the game plan is, what all happened. But long story short, when I got onto the island, I busted a 140. He's like a 140, 130 class 8-pointer off the island, and he scooted around, headed back to the bedding where Dan explained the bedding was. And then during the last hour, he came back. And there's the 140 that busted me before. Now he's just slipping around me. And I watched him for 20 minutes, and I didn't realize the big one that Dan had mentioned, there's a booner back there, that the big one was behind him.
In the lower right-hand corner, the 8-pointer is walking off screen and right into Joe's shooting lane. In the beginning of this hunt, Joe said he would be happy with anything Pope and Young. But public land booners, coming from behind, have a way of changing your mind and upping your goals. With the 8-pointer in his shooting lane, Joe just needed the giant to take a few more steps.
So I just had about like a 130 class 8-point and another one that would have gone, I don't know, it would have been pushing Boone, I think. And they were coming straight in, and I was going to take a little bit longer of a shot on them. And the one just had to go about a body length forward. The Booner had to go forward about a body length. And the smaller one in front of them busted me, and they went peeling out. The Booner was freaking huge. I don't know if he was a Booner or not. He was huge, though. And then earlier in the night, I want to say it was a bigger deer. And even bigger deer got up further out. So, got a little bit of time left, but I'm gonna kind of need a miracle at this point. That one was a big freaking deer. He just needed like a few more steps. If he would have been where that other one was. I kept checking with my breath because I could see my breath was going that way, so I was gonna be fine, but it must have swirled on him or something. Maybe something else will come in. We'll see here. My toes are froze. And a half hour before these two deer were in front of me, I saw two other deer further out, probably 3/4 miles out. Those are big deer too. I mean 150, 160 class deer.
How many deer did you see total?
Oh geez, 10, 15. I mean, if you count the does and the little bucks and all that stuff, 10, 15 deer total.
So how cold was it?
Cold. What are we at?
I don't know. We were.
Minus 10?
I think the high today was 4 above. So
Yeah.
you were probably out there in about 14 below, and I don't know what the wind chill was.
Yeah. The wind wasn't horrible, but the biggest thing, I had to keep popping the battery off the camera, unzip my pocket, put it in there, let it warm up, stick the battery back on the camera, film a little bit, put it back in my pocket. Brought a few hats, a few socks so I could get the wet clothing off after I got done sweating. It was a 3 mile hike back there probably.
Yeah, might even be 3+.
Through 8 inches of snow.
Yeah. Well, it'd be worse if it was you know, the usual stomach deep water,
Yeah.
but it'd be warmer.
Yeah. It should be warmer.
Yeah.
But
And what's nice too is you can see those deer across the ice. You know, where normally you can't see those deer unless you're on top of them.
Yep.
Now you could see them from a distance, right?
Yep. They're a lot easier to see. You just kind of see those racks floating above the cattails.
So now you saw how many bucks?
Well, 4 shooters and 2 1.5-year-olds, so 6 total.
Yeah, and ranging from what, 140 to
140. What do you think he was? Pushing 170. If he had all his tines, I'd say he's pushing 170.
Yeah, I think he'd probably come real close to netting Boone and Crockett if he had all of his tines, but he's busted up a little bit.
Well, we can score him next week.
Yeah, yeah. Because what's going to happen now?
So the plan is get back down here. I got 1 day for sure that I can. If I got to play hooky, I will. I probably shouldn't say that on camera. But we'll get back down here, throw a sit or 2 at it yet, and see if we can get back onto him now that we kind of saw what he's doing, how he's doing it, and how I kind of have to come at the island a little bit different. And if I can get a little bit of a northerly wind, I can work it a little bit better and play it a little bit better. So
Yeah. So you know what I say to Mario all the time? Let's go get that other buck.
let's do it.
Yeah. All right.
Your hand's shaking, the camera's shaking.
Yeah, the camera's shaking. It's not me. The camera's cold.
Camera's cold.
The camera's shaking. Well, I hope you enjoyed the show this week. And stay tuned. Joe just might get one of those bucks yet. I heard he took a few days vacation for the last few days of the season here. And I'm looking forward to seeing him get one of those bucks. Joe, if you're listening, let's go get that buck. Caught me a possum. What do you think of that?